Welcome back to Podcast First Marketing. I'm your host, Allison. Have you ever wondered what really happens between someone finding your episodes or your podcast and to eventually hiring you? Most people don't usually just listen to one episode and become a client on the spot. There is a journey that happens first, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. I will say one of the biggest aha moments I had is when I started working in podcast strategy. I did start off with just production and then I moved into more of the strategy. I was realizing that most shows they have this great content, but they don't do as well because they skip parts of what we call the listener journey. Now, we all have a journey as far as finding a product or a service to eventually purchasing. The same is very true from when someone listens to you to purchasing that product. You're just taking them through this different type of funnel, which it's all the same, but it's a listening journey. The ones I was listening to, they were talking to their audience like they were already ready to buy. And a lot of that is because that's what we're taught. We're taught to speak to the person who is ready to buy. And that is great if you believe that that's who is all in your audience, but that's not always the case when someone has found your podcast at the beginning. If they've never heard of you and they are just now finding you, that's not going to happen just in one episode. It might. I've told you before, if you've listened to me early on, that I found a podcast, but I binged her episodes. So it was more than one episode. But if they've never leaned towards that next step at all, they're not just going to buy from you right away. But once you start aligning your episodes with each stage of the journey that we're going to talk about today, that's when your podcast starts turning into clients because you have to lead them from where they are. Now, not everyone is going to be in that same stage. You are going to have people enter at all different stages. That's why we have to be very strategic with our content. Just because they listen to one episode doesn't mean that's what's going to sell them. But after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 20 episodes, you've taken them through a journey maybe several times and they're going to be ready. It might take you 2 or 3 episodes getting them on your email list, and then you take them through that journey. But what we're going to focus on today is the listener journey. So I'm going to take you through the 4 stages from going from a listener to a client. And then I'm going to walk you through how your episodes can support each of those stages. Because I know sometimes we think, well, yeah, I know the stages, but how do I make my episodes match that? That's what we're going to help you with today. So looking at the 4 stages of taking someone from being just a listener to a client, the first stage is discovery. They find you through what we really hope is a search through your title. They've clicked a key or not clicked a keyword. They've searched a keyword. Your show pops up. Maybe a certain episode pops up. They listen to you. Maybe they've been recommended to you by someone else. Maybe they heard you on another podcast. Maybe they did come across your social media. However it might be, they have discovered you in some way, somehow, and now they're going to start listening to you. Then that next stage is the trust stage. They start listening to you. Most of the times it's multiple episodes. They start connecting with you. That's why we kind of like to I just love the podcast because you get to learn someone's personality more so than what you've seen written on social media. Now, maybe if you're seeing them in their stories or they do reels and YouTube video, that's different. But I don't know, podcasting is just so much more intimate and you get to really connect with that person. And the overall goal is to have them start thinking, wow, she gets me. She is in my head. She knows what I'm saying. Did she hear me tell that to my best friend? The third stage is the nurture stage. So now they've started to trust you. They're coming back over and over again. Now they actually take what you are talking about and they start applying your ideas to what they're doing and they're seeing results. They're just getting that from your free content. I know we see all the time, or hear all the time, I should say, don't give everything away for free. But here's the thing. If you can give enough away that they can try on their own and they're like, wow, I just did that and I was able to get these results. What could happen if I actually worked with her? And that is the 4th stage where you see that conversion. They take that next step. They start booking a call. They're actually buying your services, your products, whatever it might be. And that's when they go into even more application of what you are teaching. So you want to take them from finding you to trusting you, nurturing them to conversions. Doesn't mean you're going to do it all in one episode. No. Could you have all those steps in one episode? If you got really strategic, but you want to develop those episodes into this listener to client journey. And so now I want to talk about how can your episodes support each of those. Let's start with the discovery stage. This is where that SEO is going to really come into play. And we've been talking a lot about that. The main episode that I talked a lot about it in was it was in episode 18 where I really talked about SEO fixes that you can make. But I have been talking about it overall in general even episode 19, 20, 21, all of those talk about each specific area. But that SEO, the topics you're talking about, your clear titles, your episode description, even making sure your podcast show name is SEO keyword driven. If you don't have it in your title and a subtitle, all of that matters for getting discovered. The way you promote your show, whether you're sending out emails, whether you're getting on other people's podcasts, whether you're in collaborations, whether you're in networking events, summits, bundles, something that you can mention your podcast in, that's going to help you get discovered. Then for the second stage of trust, this is where in your episodes, you get a little vulnerable. You start storytelling and telling stories about yourself. And I think we all can do a little bit better at that. Even I struggle with finding a story to tell. I could get better at that too. I really could. But that is what's going to build trust when they really start to see themselves in you. So that is where within your episodes, you bring in parts of you that are going to help them realize just a little bit more of who you are. And that could even be just the way you work with clients. It doesn't have to be your personal life. Not everybody wants to tell all of their dark secrets, but even just the way you've worked with people, that's also getting vulnerable in storytelling. And then the third stage, when we talk about nurture, these are where you're going to talk about your frameworks and how your offers can help them, basically showing them how that they can get to this transformation. What are these ways that are relatable to them, showing them how they can get these wins? Those are the topics where you're going to really bring in, well, how would you work with them? What are you going to do? What framework do you provide? I talk about my podcast first marketing framework all the time, how we put the podcast at the front first. Well, we do make it first, but it's at the forefront of our marketing. Everything starts with our podcast. We build these connections and then we lead them into our email list and to all the other steps. So you want to talk more about, well, what is it that you offer? Not just telling them your offers, but how are you going to take them from the problem they have, I don't want to say fixing it, but to coming up with some sort of solution or transformation? What are the steps that you walk them through? Whether that is talking about how you work with your clients, or whether that is you explain what it's like to work in your one-on-one offer, or what your membership is like. What are things that you do in your membership? Anything that's going to help make them see those wins that they could have, that's nurturing them. And then that last step with conversion, I think you all know what I'm going to say. These are your call to actions. These are your direct invitations to working with you, giving them the clear next step as to what they should do next to work with you. If you've given all of this information and then you're like, okay, see you next time. And they're like, but wait, how can you help me? If you never tell them, well, they're not going to work with you. Some people are not going to, I was going to say they're not going to be like me, where they just immediately jump to your website and start looking at what you have to offer. Some people will. Some people, if you're not making it easy for them, they're going to go find the next person that does. So we want to be very strategic in how we can make our episodes show those conversions. And I tell you, not every episode has to be selling, but at least give them that next step. I mention all the time, I don't make it a huge, like, you have to work with me and this is what I can do for you. I'm not pushing it on you. I'm just letting you know that if it is something that you need help with, I can help you and here's how I can do it. Or even as much as my quiz, like, go take my quiz and find out what you might be missing in your strategy. And that could help you. And that's free. So we want our episodes to intentionally walk somebody from all through the process from finding you to learning to trust you. You nurture them, and then you're going to sell to them. It's not that your podcast is this we're not using your podcast to become like a sales system, although it kind of is. And it's not just like another platform to to put your content out on. We are truly trying to get somebody to realize that, hey, I am here for you. Here's what I can do for you. Here's how I do it. And I would love to work with you. And this is what I offer. I hope that makes sense. But you're taking them from not knowing who you are to wanting to work with you. It is a journey. And so you really have to look at your episodes in that way. And does this take them through the journey? I've said in previous episodes, and I don't talk about it a whole lot anymore, but like you can have each episode do one thing. So you can have this episode that really gets them to know you. And then the next one is, kind of going through that funnel. But one of the things I want to talk about too is that we all don't always see very well through, how am I trying to word this? Keep thinking of the metaphor like you can't see the label from inside the bottle. Sometimes we need that extra support to do that. And you might be thinking, okay, my listeners love my show, but they're not taking that next step. What's happening here? What part of this client journey or this listener journey am I missing? This is your sign to stop and quit guessing and just start mapping it out. Where are your listeners coming from? Where are you taking them? What journey are you taking them on? This is exactly what I help you do inside of my Profitable Podcast VIP Day, formerly known as the Intensive, but I have now refined this offer to really help you the most. And inside this experience, you and I spend one focused day together, getting your podcast fully aligned with your offer, your audience, and your revenue goals. We map out your listener journey, your funnel. I even give you your next 12 episode ideas with call to actions based on what you are focusing on for the next 3 months, a visibility strategy, and I deliver it all in a custom podcast profit blueprint. So you finally know exactly what to do next when it comes to your podcast. There's no more guessing. We are not going to be just recording episodes for no particular reason at all and just shouting out into the void. I just want to show you how your podcast can bring you clients. So if you are ready for your podcast to become your marketing engine, I want you to go to the link in the description below, or you can go to AllisonNitch.com/VIP day, which is just an application to book your clarity call and we can talk through everything. I want your podcast to bring you clients, and this is how we can make that happen. Okay, so next week, we're going to be talking about how we can take this listener journey, because part of being on the listener journey is through bingeable, like people binging your podcast. Because once your listener starts their journey, you want to hook them in. If that is something you want to do, come back next week, because your listeners are already on a journey and we just need to guide them the right way. And when your podcast does that intentionally, that's when everything starts to click. And that's when you will start to see email subscribers, people applying for your offers, people purchasing your offers, people reaching out to you. And that's what I want. All right. So figure out your listener journey. Come back next week and find out how we can make your podcast bingeable. And until then, keep creating those episodes that move your listener one step closer to becoming your client. That's the listener journey. And I will see you next week, friend. Have a wonderful day. Wait, don't leave yet. Before you go on to the next episode, I want to share something with you. If you listen to this episode right now and you're thinking, I know my podcast is good, it's just not bringing me clients and sales, we need to build a strategy that does this. You're not just needing to create more content. That's why I created my Profitable Podcast VIP Day. In one day, we will build your client funnel, go over your offers, and then I will do my magic behind the scenes to give you a strategic podcast profit blueprint, which will include everything you need to build out a profitable podcast. This will include a full audit of your podcast to offer funnel map, 12 strategic episodes with call to actions to your offers, a visibility and repurposing plan built for where you want to show up. This is all customized to you and your offers and your goals. If you want a podcast to bring leads and clients consistently, not just the downloads, apply now at AllisonNitch.com/VIP or click the link in the description.